Not your idea of modern-day white supremacists? Think again.
Everybody hates. The problem, though, is that most people are too hypocritical to admit it.
They're young, educated, and upwardly mobile. Meet the new face of hate in America.
The message of intolerance is the same. The way it is being packaged and those it's attracting is changing. Here's Art Harris.
In an attic office in Peoria, Illinois, amidst the strains of Mozart, 20-year-old Christine Weiss is part of a movement preparing for a racial holy war.
I really don't think I should have to have any tolerance for anybody. I'm not saying different. I care about my own kind, and that's it, you know.
White people.
White people. I care about white people.
She grew up in a well-to-do Chicago suburb, graduated from New Trier High School, one of the best in the country.
I played soccer. I played classical piano for 11 years.
Yet Weiss is part of a trend that baffles experts. Affluent, educated young people joining hate groups.
I've always had pride in my heritage. I'm third generation in this country, and my culture always meant something more to me probably than maybe some other people it didn't. And I really wanted to make sure that my people stay around, so I know I'm fighting for that now.
After high school, she abandoned her Episcopal roots for the World Church of the Creator, led by 27-year-old Matthew Hale.
What do they call you?
Pontifex Maximus, that's the Latin title that the Pope uses too as well, from ancient Rome. Yes.
Isn't that a little pretentious, a little wacky?
No, because we founded this church, of course, out of nothingness. One day it will rule the world. So it's not pretentious at all. World headquarters, may I help you?
The Anti-Defamation League, which monitors extremists, says Hale's following has grown from fewer than 100 people in 1996 to nearly 1,000 today.
Well, we need you to stand up, brother, if you can.
It calls his white supremacy group one of the fastest growing in the country.
You take care, white power. I think everyone does hate, including I. Everybody hates. The problem, though, is that most people are too hypocritical to admit it.
Hale admires Adolf Hitler and says he became a racist at age 12 when he saw an interracial couple at a dance in Peoria.
I saw a black kissing a white girl.
That made you
nauseous.
Sick.
Yes, not where I would throw up, but it was disgusting to me to see. And that strong reaction has kept within my mind ever since.
The son of a Peoria police officer, Hale graduated from law school but was denied a law license because of his beliefs. Racist views he is fine-tuned to attract young people like Weiss.
How do you feel about Hitler? What do you know about him?
I think he was one of the greatest men that ever walked the face of the earth.
Why?
Because he was the first person to really establish a government based on race for the best interest of his own people, and he stood up for it and gave his life for it.
How do you feel that he had small children killed?
What kind of children? Jewish children? Well, I'm not, I don't know. I'd rather not answer that question because, you know, I'm just not really.
Also children who weren't perfect, children who had some disabilities were killed, gypsy children.
What, do you want me to shed a tear for them or something? It's not going to happen.
Weiss's former boyfriend, Benjamin Smith, was also a disciple of Matthew Hale. Smith was 21 years old, the son of a doctor. He attended the same high school as Weiss and went on to college.
I liked Ben. Ben was no psycho, to my knowledge. He was no bad person.
Early last month, Smith went on a shooting rampage in Illinois and Indiana, targeting blacks, Jews, and Asians. He killed 2 people and wounded 9 others before killing himself.
A myriad of news clippings about the story.
Devin Burkhart had been keeping an eye on Smith for 2 years. He heads the Center for the New Community, a Chicago area organization that he says monitors 270 extremist groups in the Midwest. Burkhart says Matthew Hale's group is one of the most successful in drawing members of Generation X to white supremacy.
It's not, the traditional targets that we think about in terms of recruiting for white supremacists, those being disenfranchised, alienated, white working class folks. In this instance, they're targeting young, well-educated, often from affluent households, kids who are preparing themselves, in this case, to prepare for a racial holy war.
Over the July 4th weekend, when Burkhart heard about the shootings, he suspected Benjamin Smith.
We contacted law enforcement, let them know of how Benjamin Smith fit our profile.
Amazingly enough, the best intelligence on organized hate groups comes from private groups.
Paul Goldenberg is a former hate crime investigator for the New Jersey Attorney General. He says law enforcement's ability to investigate these groups is limited.
In the 60s and 70s, there was a concern that the federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies were abusing their powers. The collection and gathering of information, the surveillance of Americans, the wiretapping of Americans, it was of great concern. Therefore, the courts, state by state and federally, curtailed this type of activity. However, it directly impacted the investigation of organized groups.
Now, the FBI can only investigate hate groups when it has reason to believe the group is connected to criminal activity.
It's not illegal to hate someone. The active hate groups today are very successfully cloaking themselves behind the First Amendment.
It's one of the reasons I went to law school, is to protect our people, protect our interests, to ensure that our rights are upheld every way I can within the system. Now, if someone is investigated simply because they're a member of our church, we have a serious problem with that. That becomes a civil rights violation against us.
When we're normal people, we just choose to fight for something we really believe in, and that's fighting for the white race.
White victory! Experts who monitor extremists say the number of hate groups is growing. And they cannot explain why, at a time when the economy is booming. They say people normally look for scapegoats in hard times.
People are working, unemployment numbers are low, people are coming off welfare. The face of the nation, things are looking very good. That's what makes this even more ironic.
When I was younger, I was a street soldier. I was out there attacking, beating people up, went to jail quite often. I've got 29 racist tattoos on my body.
T.J. Lydon is a former skinhead and anti-Semite. He now works preaching tolerance at the Simon Wiesenthal Center in Los Angeles.
What really got me out was my children. I have 2 young sons, and I started seeing them do a lot of certain things that I thought were kind of scary. And basically, I was raising them to be the next generation of haters.
Lydon says that any kid with a computer has easy access to hate. And he's especially worried about websites that espouse Matthew Hale's racist views. Although Hale says he doesn't control every site.
There's one that's called the World Church of the Creator for Kids. Your kid can go and do a crossword puzzle. He can download things and then do coloring. They can make a coloring book for white power. And it's basically an indoctrination for your 6- and 7-year-old, who is probably getting on the net now.
One website referred to Rahowa, racial holy war, and showed 2 cartoon characters machine gunning the Pope.
The explosion went off around 9 a.m.
At the time of the Oklahoma City bombing, watchdog groups were aware of only 1 hate site on the internet. Today, their estimates range from 350 sites to more than 2,000.
The internet is like the most advanced thing. It's probably the greatest thing that's ever happened for the racist movement.
Christine Weiss says she first learned about Matthew Hale's racist beliefs on the internet while in high school.
I wanted to find it, and that's where it was most easily accessible, so...
Ever check out a website of hate?
That's why Lydon now fights to keep kids from going down the same path. He uses MTV to counter hate's flashy rhetoric on the web.
Different than you? I should know. Because for 15 years of my life, I was a neo-Nazi white supremacist, promoting intolerance and hatred. Hate is not empowering. it got me nowhere. If you're a kid and say you're living in Sioux City, Iowa, you're one racist in a small town, don't have many friends, don't get along with anybody, you go home and sit down in front of that computer, well, guess what? You've got 4 friends in L.A., 2 in Chicago, 6 in Miami, 5 in Germany, 3 in Australia. You're part of a global society. You got friends around the world now that care about you and love you. You're in a virtual world, and you want that virtual world of the white power, all you see is love and devotion and caring about you to become part of the real society. And maybe you snap, and you go out and you start killing people.
Hale denies that his movement endorses violence, yet he still admires Benjamin Smith.
Did Ben Smith die a hero?
He certainly did die a martyr for free speech for white people in this country.
A murderer, in your mind, is a martyr?
Well, when you have a system that persecutes people for standing up for their race, we would consider those people martyrs, yes.
He never compromised what he believed in, like, whatsoever. He was, everything in basically his whole life revolves around, our cause.
Do you in any way feel responsible for what happened?
No, not at all.
Why?
For the same reasons that the Pope doesn't feel responsible when someone bombs an abortion clinic. No one ever tries to argue he's responsible